Today's lesson is going to be finding the volume of 3 different three-dimensional figures. Before we get started though, let's just recap a couple definitions because these are important when we start talking about volume. First one I want to talk about is volume. What on earth is volume and what does it mean? So volume here is going to represent the amount of space in a three-dimensional figure. So if I sketch a three-dimensional figure here, so say this is my three-dimensional figure. Bear with me as I try to draw it, okay? Right? There's my three-dimensional figure. The volume is the space inside of it. So literally everything inside my three-dimensional figure. All that empty space. That's my volume. Volume is in 3 dimensions. So when we start talking about units, you want to make a little note to yourself here. When we start talking about units, our units here are going to be cubed. So for example, say I give you a side length of inches, right? We would then want to find the volume, which would become inches cubed. And we'll talk more about that when we start finding the volume. The second vocabulary word we want to talk about is radius. So thinking back to our lesson from 2 days ago, you have a circle here. The radius is the point at which you start at the center and move your way to the edge, right? That's our radius. The last definition I want to talk about is going to be diameter. All right, diameter refers to, draw my circle here, the distance across your circle, right? Edge to edge passing through that center point, okay? So keep that in mind as we go through and start learning about volume. All right, so here are our three-dimensional figures. First one is called a cylinder. Second one is called a cone. And third one is called a sphere. Not a spear, but a sphere. Okay, so how do I find volume of a cylinder? Well, the formula is pi times my radius squared times height, which really is just the area of the base times the height. How do I find volume of a cone? Well, volume of a cone is 1/3 pi times radius squared times height. And how do I find volume of a sphere? Well, sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Now, I know I didn't go over how these formulas developed, but I would encourage you at some point to maybe do some research and see how all of these figures are actually related. Knowing how to find volume of a cylinder actually helps you to derive the formula for a cone and a sphere. It's kind of cool. All right, so let's put our volume formulas to the test. Looking at my figure here, we have to ask ourselves, what shape do I have? Well, this shape is a cylinder. Okay, so if I have to find the volume of this, well, I got to figure out what's my formula for volume of a cylinder. Well, volume of a cylinder is pi times radius squared times height. See, this is where writing it down will be helpful, so make sure you have that written down, okay? So what do I know about this lovely cylinder here? Well, let's look a little closer. I know that this guy right here, see this little guy right here? Ooh, what does he remind you of? This is the radius. I'm going to make a little note to myself. The radius here is equal to 6 meters. Okay, so I know that about my cylinder. Then let's look at my other dimension here. This, ooh, oh, I don't like that one. I want to do this. This, ooh, yeah, okay. That refers to my height. And my height here is equal to 11 meters. Okay, so let's look at my question. It wants me to find the volume. So what 2 pieces do I need? Well, let's see. I need an R, which is also known as a radius. So do I have that? Yep, right here. 6 meters. And I also need a height. That's what H stands for. Do I have a height? Oh, yep, right here, 11 meters, right? So let's go ahead and plug those into our formula. We know that volume is equal to 3.14 times my radius. Well, what's my radius? 6. So I'm going to take that and square it. And then I'm going to take that and times it by my height, which we know is 11 meters. Okay? This is where PEMDAS is super important because you have to follow the order, otherwise you won't get the right answer, okay? So the very first thing I want to do is I want to do what is being squared, right? My exponent. So I'm going to do 6 squared, which we know to be 36, and then rewrite my equation. So now I have 3.14 times 36 times 11. So in my calculator, I'm going to type in 3.14 times 36, which is 113.04, and times that by 11, and that's going to give me a super, super large number. And that answer is 1,243.44 meters cubed, because remember, volume is 3 dimensions. Next example, what do we have here? What picture? What is the shape? Ooh, I remember, it's a cone. Trying to throw me off, making it on its side. Ugh. Let's look at my cone here. What is the formula for volume of a cone? Well, let's think. Volume is equal to, and I probably should have my notes out because that's going to help me, 1/3 times pi times r squared times my height. Okay? All right, so I need a radius and I need a height. So let's look at my cone. Okay. If I look closely, I notice I have this distance from edge to edge, okay? So that edge to edge, oh, that is my diameter. And my diameter is equal to 6. Well, that's not helpful because I need the radius. So how am I going to find the radius? Let's see. I know that radius is half the diameter, so 6 divided by 2, right? So my radius here is 3. All right, so now that I know what my radius is, let's see if I have a height. Well, if I look closely here, top of my cone to the bottom of my cone, that is 6. So I know that my height is equal to 6. All right, so now if the radius is 3 and the height is 6, let's plug it into my formula and solve. Here we go. Volume is equal to 1/3 times 3.14 times my radius, which is 3. Square my radius and times that by my height, which is 6. All right, PEMDAS, we got to do that again. So we're first going to square it. So this is going to be 3 squared, which is 9, and then times that by 6. My suggestion would be to hold off on this little guy, this 1/3, till the end, because I'll show you in a second why it's easy to do it this way. So now on my calculator, I'm going to type in 3.14 times 9 times 6. And that's going to give me a volume, which is equal to 1/3 times 169.56. Now, Mrs. Kramer, why is it important to save 1/3 till the end? Well, let's rewrite this. 1/3 times 169.56 is the same thing as saying 169.56 divided by 3, right? Because if I draw in this little imaginary over 1, right, that's going to equal this. So now all I have to do is take 169.56, divide that by 3, and you get your answer, okay? My volume here is now 56.52. And there you go. All right, last one. Oh my gosh, process of elimination. This is the sphere. Not the spear, but the sphere. Now, what is the formula for volume of a sphere? Well, I'm looking at my notes because I don't quite have it memorized just yet, but it's 4/3 pi r cubed based on my notes. So now, to find the volume of the sphere, I need look closely, a radius. So let's look at my sphere. Do I have a radius? Oh, lucky me, I have a radius here that is equal to 7 centimeters. So all I have to do is plug that into my formula. Volume is equal to 4/3 times 3.14 times my radius cubed. Now my radius is 7. I'm going to cube that. All right, so let's go ahead and do order of operations. 7 times 7 times 7. Woo, that's 343. So volume is equal to 4/3 times 3.14 times 343. Now, again, I would hold off on this guy until the end, okay? So let's take 343 and times that by 3.14. Okay, I'm gonna get a super crazy big number. Volume is equal to 4/3 times 1077.02. Why did I save this little guy, this 4/3 to the end? Well, let's rewrite this problem so that it's easier to see. If I draw in this over 1, if I draw in this over 1 here, I can rewrite this problem as 4 times 1077.02. So, right, that's going to give me 4,308.08 over 3 times 1, which is 3. And now all I have to do is take 4,308.08, divide that by 3, and I'm going to get my final answer of volume is equal to 1,436.0267 centimeters cubed. And I'm done. All right, so let's just quickly recap how to find volume of all three of these wonderful figures here. Cylinder, remember, volume is equal to pi times radius squared times my height. Remember, r equals radius and h equals height. Cone, volume is equal to 1/3 pi times radius squared times height. Remember, r is radius and h is height. And finally, for a sphere, volume is equal to 4/3 pi times radius cubed. Remember, r is equal to radius. Make yourself a little note. Remember to follow PEMDAS. And then remember my helpful hints from these two 3D figures, right? How do you multiply by a third? How do you multiply by 4/3, right? Watch those videos, make sure you understand. And good luck with your practice.